Hey everybody, welcome to the garage and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sporting my custom one of one signed Acura baseball cap, if you can see that. This was a special gift given to me by my awesome neighbors here in December at my birthday. So they threw a little surprise lunch for me and we had a blast. So super mega thanks to them. I know that some of them watch the channel as well, so that's awesome. But today I want to talk about something way outside the Acura box. This is related to a new acquisition that might be a surprise for a lot of you. And this is my bulletin board where I've showcased in the past all the cars I've ever owned. I have a picture, usually of a key handoff transaction for each of those. But this one is going to be a Ford. Believe it or not, I'm going outside the import Japanese box to buy a 1994 Ford F-Series truck. There's the brochure. So what in the world am I thinking? Well, truth is, this one has been on my list for a long time. I grew up around Ford trucks. My dad, back in the 90s, had a handful of them. I grew up riding in the extended SuperCab pickup all the way around the Rocky Mountain region on camping trips, lake trips, scouting events, you name it. So there's a lot of history and nostalgia built into that experience for me. And so I've never really forgotten about that. And I will say this kind of obsession is not quite on par with the Honda Acura stuff, but I've definitely loved these trucks for a long time. And now 30 years later, I'm in a position to actually add one to my collection. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty excited because it's probably going to be one of the most versatile vehicles I will own. Obviously, the SLX puts in its duty as a workhorse when I need to haul wheels and tires, car parts, car seats, you name it. But I do want something that's a little more capable, that has some off-road chops when I want to take it, wherever the trail may take me. And so here in the next couple days, my blue 94 F-250 XLT SuperCab with a 460 V8 engine is coming on a transport truck from out of state. So I've never laid eyes on it in person. I'm going to bring you along with me when it shows up here initially for a complete walk around. So let's talk a little bit about my Ford truck history. Let's dig in just a little bit to family history now. So what makes this such a meaningful purchase? Now, I have talked in the past about my overall heritage when it comes to cars. This is my grandfather who passed away when I was 8 years old. There's my grandma. This was his 1950 Buick that he had when it was fairly new in 1954. My dad is also a car guy, and that's part of why he tinkered around with trucks when I was a kid. So this is actually me right here at left with my brother in front of a 1979 Ford F-150 that was pretty modified for its time. And then we kind of moved on through the years, and we always, for as long as I could remember, in the late 80s and into the late 90s, had Ford trucks. This was my dad's 1989. They called that the brick nose generation, 8th gen. And then we went on to an extended cab version. This one is one of my favorite pictures because it shows we had 3 four-wheelers in the back, and you can't do that with very many trucks. So I was big into these trucks back in the day. These are some really crude pencil drawings that I did when I was probably 13 or 14 of different trucks. And they were of the 9th gen body style. So that's the one that I ended up buying. Incidentally, this was also a graphic that I made when I was in middle school. I learned to drive a manual on this truck. It was a 1994 Ford Ranger XL with a 5-speed. It was really bare bones truck. It had vinyl flooring, no chrome bumpers or anything. It was just kind of basic, but I loved that thing, and that was another part of my Ford heritage. This is one that we borrowed from a family member to take on a camp out, and you can see here I am pictured here, even representing my Ford t-shirt, looking like a goofball with my brothers in the extended cab. So like I said, I spent a lot of time riding in the back of Ford trucks. This was one of my dad's friends. I always loved this picture of that truck because it was kind of my ideal spec in terms of the body style, the two-tone paint scheme, and all that. We also used to detail trucks for our neighbors. This was one that we would clean up for my scoutmaster, Mike. and loved that truck. It was a lifted F-350 with the shell on it, obviously. And for a little time in the 90s, we had a half ton. This was an F-150 long bed. You could see towing our jet skis here. And this was a snow trip after it got different wheels and tires. And this was, I want to say this was a trip to Lake Mead with our camp gear. Later on, Dad had this one. It was a red. This was a cool one because it was a 5-speed manual F-250 up there in the hills. And that kind of brings me to here we are in 2024, and I'm going to relive some of those memories. And this is the brochure that I picked up on eBay, as well as some paint chips. So the truck that's coming this week is going to be two-tone royal blue and brilliant blue. You can see those two colors right there in the center. And it's such a cool combination. It stood out to me when I saw it online, and I really was kind of drawn to it. And I thought, you know what better time than now to kind of hone in on some of that nostalgia for these Ford trucks. And it can also be something that I use around the house once in a while, because it's so handy to have that capability when you need it to haul stuff around and put it to work. So let's see what this thing looks like when it lands, and I'll bring you along for the ride.
All right, now the hubs are locked. Right up there. From snowy Idaho to sunny Arizona. Enjoy it.
There it is. The F-250 is landing. It's a little bit on the dirty side. I knew this was going to happen. You guys, there it is. I can't believe this truck is here. 13 to 14-year-old me is freaking out right now. This is crazy. All right, I'm gonna wander up here and meet this guy. We're gonna have a little bit of work logistics-wise cut out for us here, taking a Jeep and a Nissan pickup off of here. So there's the truck. First time this thing has maybe seen palm trees in its whole life. I don't know, it didn't really leave northern Idaho, northern Washington, eastern Washington, based on the Carfax since it was new. So gonna introduce this thing to some Arizona sunshine in the next few years. There it is. Wow, this is a trip. Talk about memory lane. I feel like I'm back in time in the late 90s. Can't even see out of that windshield. Definitely the first stop is going to be a car wash. And, ooh, V8. This is my first V8, and I can tell it's not going to be good on gas. What do you guys think? Maybe 7 mpg if I'm lucky. Nice to have a competent workhorse around the house, and I'm gonna have some fun with this one. Definitely first stop today is a car wash, and then kind of do an overall sort of inspection when I get back to the house. Have a little more space around me. The thing that's such a total trip for me is the look and feel Of all the switchgear in here, this is just all these trucks from 1980 to the late 90s were about the same in terms of just overall design, form, function, all of that. The door handles, got the bench seat here with the fold down, cargo area. I have to go through this paperwork in here. If I'm lucky, I'll find something like a window sticker, but I don't think there is one. There is, however, this was kind of cool, a picture. Let me zoom this back in. A picture of the original owner. Well, I think this is second owner actually, but that gentleman now, if he only knew, his car is in the Grand Canyon state. Introducing the truck to a couple of the cars for the first time. That's more like it. Wow, I can actually see out the windshield now. It's a whole different experience. So there's a spider entombed in a thing there, but I want to see what this note is. Mobile One 1030 synthetic. Wow, that's a reminder. Gonna keep this intro video pretty short and sweet, but I did want to bring you inside the cab for a little bit of a recap on where we've been and where we're going with this thing. So here's my key. It says Ford family of fine cars, and thanks my friend Jason for the keychain there. That is awesome. I was able to order a Marty report for this truck, and if you haven't heard of these guys, I've mentioned them in prior videos, but Kevin Marty has licensing access to Ford's complete production database from 1949 through 2017. He's based here in Arizona on the west side of town in El Mirage, and this data dump is stuff that I would love to see for Honda and Acura. In fact, I've mentioned that in the past. As an enthusiast or a collector, this is really valuable information to know. It talks about rarity based upon trim and paint codes, packaging, It gives build dates, order dates, and sold dates, options that were configured when it was ordered, the dealer that it was originally sold from. So I'm not going to go, really in detail on this, but this is a 94 XLT SuperCab 4-wheel drive 7.5 liter fuel injected gas engine. This is not a diesel truck, 460 cubic inch. And just the details here that you can see: brilliant blue and royal blue two-tone. Royal blue is the center stripe down either side, and then the blue interior. Interesting to note, this with that combination of the double blue and the blue interior is one of just 117 trucks for 1992 F-250 4-wheel drive SuperCab. So they made a ton of these trucks. I mean, Ford F-Series trucks, to nobody's surprise, have been 40 years plus. They've been the best-selling vehicles in the country, and they make them in so many configurations that it's no wonder there's almost one of these trucks for everybody. But if you want more information on Marti reports, hit me up. I've been to their facility. It's super cool. They have archives in boxes, literally build sheets and window stickers and things of that nature in their warehouse. So using that Marti report, I did some street view. This was the dealership the truck was sold from new on September 12th, 1994 it was sold. So 30 years ago this September. Interestingly enough, it is still a Ford dealership. It's changed hands, so the name is a little bit different, but it's now, well, at that time it was called McCollum Ford Sales. And there it is. So one of these days I'll take this truck back to its original location for a photo, but that's about 13 or 1400 miles away at this point. I do have a binder going on records and sort of receipt archival. Here's my list for now. So this is going to be, let me adjust my camera here. This is going to be a bit of a back burner project. I have way too many projects to focus on this one right now, but you can see a pretty good initial inspection of things that I either want to address or have already addressed. And a lot of it just has to do with kind of, I don't want to offend anybody by saying this, but some of the accessory on this trucks are a little bit grandpa in nature. Like, it has the window visors on either side. It has the side steps. I'll show you some of this when I walk around here in a second, but just kind of want to take the truck back to a little bit more of its original configuration without some of those bolt-on accessories. And then also otherwise just kind of do some general cleanup. The truck did spend 30 years in eastern Washington, and they do get snow there, so there's some surface rust on the underbody that I'll have cleaned up and touched up. Obviously here in Arizona, we're not going to deal with any kind of inclement weather in our winter that I will subject it to anyway. And so it will be preserved. And other couple little items, just a Ford truck, exterior color swatches. This was an eBay find. There's my combo right there, brilliant blue and Bimini blue, and the brochure, which I showed you already. So anyway, there it is. Let's fire it up again. It took a minute there, but yeah, I mean, this truck, everything about it just reminds me of my childhood. The way that things sound when they open and close, and this little vintage AM/FM cassette, and this back seat that when I was a kid, I spent hours and hours riding back there. Even the smell in here, I wish you could smell it, is just so perfectly vintage, period correct 1990s Ford truck. So while the truck's running here, I love that door thunk. I'll show you a little bit about what the plan is. So I already removed the front license plate bracket yesterday. It was here. This 4x4 badge is gonna go. I don't think that was originally on the truck. The side steps are on the chopping block. Gonna try and clean up a little bit of this under mirror corrosion. You can see vaguely here, but it has some really crappy window tint that's not even tinted anymore. It's just like a clear film. I'm gonna try and get that off. Thinking about ditching the bed rails here. Definitely gonna ditch the toolbox. There are a couple things in there that I want to save, like a tire iron, and some jumper cables and a hitch. These were part of the camper package. I'm going to take those off. I don't plan on putting a camper on this truck anytime soon. I noticed last night the license plate lights aren't working, so look into that. Probably find a little cover for this hitch plate. I noticed that this garnish across the stainless steel tailgate panel is kind of glued in there a little bit, so going to work on that at some point. It does have a factory, you can see the Ford, part of the Ford logo under the toolbox. That's a accessory or dealer installed drop-in plastic bed liner. And yeah, that's kind of the basics. I mean, it's just a fun drive down memory lane for me. I had so many fun memories of having these when I was a kid, and I'm already going to be putting this truck to use here today or tomorrow to pick up some wheels and tires. So excited to see what the future holds for it.